This conversation. We are within a half-mile distance from NAU. We're not in quarter-mile distance, but we certainly have our share of students. The bars are close to us. Get your hearts out. So I apologize for not having photographs. I have lots of photographs of the neighborhood if you want to see them. The city has kindly displayed them in the upstairs gallery at the airport and at the Aquaplex. You can see townsite photographs if you like. So the Arizona Champion newspaper in 1889 said, by Eastern Dispatches, and that's after these neighborhoods are existing, 320 acres of land was deeded by the second session of the 50th Congress of the United States to the residents of this community in order for them to gain clear title of their properties, establish a town site, and allow Flagstaff to incorporate. So all these neighborhoods are extremely important to this community. The neighborhood we refer to as town sites, not Flag's oldest, but it certainly is important. And some of the homes we live in and pass by every day are among the oldest in this community. We have three main streets, Aspen, Birch, and Cherry, that link the neighborhood to downtown to the east and Thorpe Park to the west. Our streets are lined by tall deciduous trees, and if anyone knows about the origin of that, please give me a call. That shade us all summer and give us striking color in the fall. We have mostly modest homes that sit on small lots. And as I said, we have some very old homes, more than 100-year-olds. We have the City Hall complex to the east, Wheeler Park, and the Public Library. And events are common in Wheeler Park as well as Thorpe Park, and the farmers market is held in the City Hall parking lot throughout the summer. Although the town site is actually on the western edge of the city, only west of us is Lowell, we're drawn into city activities on a daily basis. The neighborhood was added to the National Register of Historic Places in April '86, and I think both of these Southside's on the National Register. They're working on it, which is national recognition for the historic qualities we hold. It may be a surprise, but many tourists come into town site. They're either on their way to and from Lowell or asking directions. Some are lost and asking directions to the Grand Canyon. Travelers take their kids to the park so they can release all that energy. We have tourists who come just to explore and enjoy the history in our neighborhood. We have B&Bs and vacation rentals by owner because people like the historic neighborhoods, the character and the location. We have plein air painters commonly set up their easels and paint town site. So our history, no matter what area you are in our historic core, it is precious to Flagstaff. It's really critical to have that, and we're lucky. So the basic zoning that we have is we have commercial near downtown. We have a multifamily section with 17 blocks that cross north to south between Park and Benito, and then the rest is sort of single-family duplex with some exceptions. There's some small apartments and townhomes. So in some homes, we have descendants of pioneers who founded this town site. The same families have been living in their homes for 80 to more than 100 years. And I know that I do oral history in my neighborhood, and as Deb described, these are amazing people with great stories, and we need to get those stories and encourage this longevity and stability. In the 1970s, we also had frat houses move into town site, but also we had people start to buy houses as there was turnover. And this happened into the 90s, and there have been some sales since. If a house in town site goes up for sale, it does not last. I mean, it just is gone, unless it's very expensive. We purchased our home in 1988. I was a student at the time, and my focus was totally into my studies, and I was not paying close attention to what was going on, and I was not building relationships. And I know now what a difference that makes. It wasn't that we were bad neighbors, it was that I was focused elsewhere. But the residents of Townsite come together when we need to. We've done a lot of things to preserve and protect our neighborhood, and that will continue because there's something about these historic neighborhoods that when it gets in you, you cannot let go. They're just fabulous places to live. They're just wonderful. The residents' professions cover the spectrum from professors to lawyers to librarians, lots of teachers, business owners, and other occupations. We have residents of all ages, and we are a very diverse neighborhood. And I don't know the current proportion of rentals to owner-occupied homes, but in about 2005, I believe it was 40% rentals. So So that block of multifamily is having a huge impact. But I can't think of a block in our neighborhood that does not have at least one rental home. Let's see. There are a few owner-occupied in the multifamily blocks, but just barely a handful. So there are some people who have rented in our neighborhood for decades, and some would still be there, but they were asked to leave. Being in a rental property gives you no stability. You can be asked to leave at any time because they have plans for their property. I just heard that happen. But these people who stay a really long time tend to be in the duplexes here in houses. So how many students live in Townsite? Can't say. Every rental is potentially occupied by students, and many students, certainly live in Townsite. One way we know someone is a student is because they usually move on the school schedule. You know, there's more trash out front at that schedule. But when people don't stay long, or they're focused elsewhere, they don't know their neighbors. So neighbors who don't know each other probably don't help each other, and it breaks down a neighborhood. So students are not necessarily problematic neighbors. Problems come from incompatible behaviors, and anyone can behave in ways that can be at odds with your neighbors. That said, the younger tenants tend to have more of those behaviors. So the first clue to a new tenant being young and maybe incompatible behavior is when they put the couch outside the front door. They don't mean to be annoying, but they don't get up in the morning to go to work necessarily. They don't have kids to get to school. They don't realize our kids hear their, not my kids, but my neighbors' kids hear their inappropriate language. And we don't want to hear them coming home from the bars at night. Ironically, last night at midnight or whatever time they closed, we were woken up by loud behavior in the street. So many of our homes still have single pane windows, thin walls because they're old construction. We hear everything. Okay, it's just how it is when you live in an old neighborhood. So another thing we deal with is traffic. The drivers cut through our neighborhood a lot. They're on the Benito or Thorpe going around, or coming down Aspen and Birch going into town, or down to the city. We have a lot of city traffic, and we have a lot of school traffic. The rents in Townsite are high, and so there are usually many people sharing a house. Even if people who live in Townsite walk or use their rights, they also have cars. I mean, let's be honest about it, and they use them. So we were not set up, the old neighborhoods are not set up for a lot of vehicles. It's just how it was when they were built. And so we have a lot of vehicles dominating our streets and hiding houses, you could say. And it's just not a pretty sight. I think it degrades our neighborhood. It's very unfortunate. So we have drivers who are driving through, they slide through stop signs, they don't see stop signs. That happens a lot. They exceed safe speeds, and we have a lot of people on bikes, animals, and kids in the neighborhood, so that sets up a kind of unfortunate situation. So the level of traffic and those behaviors are incompatible with a residential area. And I'm speaking for myself. We're not an organized neighborhood. I think we're working on doing that, but we're not. I'm speaking for myself. But I don't think anyone would disagree. If I say the vision, I would say would be Townsite to continue to be charming in the neighborhood with smaller, affordable homes, because they are more affordable when they're small. That way people can walk to work, they can walk to NAU, they can ride their bikes to get there, as many of us do. Students are just some of the people who rent, and we hope that they learn to be good neighbors. That's part of our vision. We don't mind students, we like students. We just want them to be good neighbors. We want our streets to be quieter with fewer vehicles. We love having diverse residents who know each other, and that many of us have long-term relationships. We want most homes, it's a proportional thing. If you have too many rentals, you don't have a cohesive neighborhood. So we want to keep up our owner-occupied numbers as high as we can. Not all the way, because we love having the diversity of renters. But most homes are owner-occupied. We still have yards and trees and the birds, because we can hear birds. When I first lived there, we could see the Milky Way, but not anymore. So a healthy neighborhood with stable residents is dependent on maintaining that delicate balance of many characteristics. So I think all these neighborhoods, in my dream, would all be full of city and county employees and NAU staff and faculty, and so among the students, so that we can walk and get everywhere. And it would stabilize these neighborhoods. It would keep them a great place to live. It might teach the kids who aren't familiar with living in a neighborhood how to do it, and then people would take care of the historic properties. In Southside, some of these churches are some of the most awesome, beautiful little rock housing things, and I just don't want to see them lost to student housing. It would just be a loss for Flagstaff. And so I also want to thank the city for all the help they've given us over the years and continue to give us. They do a great job. It's not easy balancing everything, but they do a very good professional job. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We have some time now for questions, and I know we've had 3 panels, so if you have a question, identify who you would like to hear from, and then just call forward and someone can, and then you, yes.
Yes, I think this is for Rick Rendell. You mentioned the legal authority that the university has to get involved in student misbehavior.